Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge. I see the chat is super active. David says, Sia getting that last-minute hair placement sorted. He was right. That's why we were a couple minutes late. My apologies. Hit the like button if you could. For the record, we are 52 days away from NFL kickoff. That's Ray Lewis, Patrick Willis days away from NFL season. Today, we're going to cover an NFL future, but we're going to go into the home run derby to NBA Summer League. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's see how we did on Friday. Let's take a look at the recap screen. A lot of golf here. We go 4-2 overall. Listen, the Mets should have closed. They were up big in that game and gave up the run line. Still won the game, gave up the run line. Really should have been a 5-1 day, but we'll take 4-2. And ladies and gentlemen, on this Monday, let's just go ahead and move to the stars of the show. We welcome Amags, the baseball guru. We welcome the Maestro. You've got a little summer league and NFL action for us, Maestro. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you. The hair looks great. Sia, glad we could get the show moving.
Yes, indeed. It may or may not be true that we had a 2 to 3 minute delay because of my hair. Amags sporting the Texas Rangers hat. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, and I think if there's one thing that will never happen because of me on the show, it would be a delay because of my hair. So
yes, fair enough. Always wearing a pretty cool hat. All right, well, you're wearing a Texas Rangers hat. And let's just start with, because I think we got a Texas Ranger in the home run derby. Let's start, because I think, most people think it's kind of a dry sports day, and it is in large part, but there's some stuff going on. NBA Summer League, like we said. I've already made an open championship first click, which I'm going to talk to you about later in the show, but we got the home run derby. So, Amags, I'm going to start with you. I know you've got a few things to talk about from a pick standpoint with respect to everything that's going on today, but let's talk about these home run derby odds. I look at these and I think most people would say, hey, it's Pete Alonso's to lose. I mean, he comes in here every single year, trying to win this thing. And, I think the number's fair at the plus 310. I look down the board. I see guys like Gunnar Henderson at plus 450, Bobby Witt Jr. at plus 500. And I start to think, hey, maybe there's value in some of those guys. When you look at this home run derby odds board, what jumps out to you?
So it does jump out, I guess, a little bit to me that Bobby Witt would be up in that plus 500 range, known for, hitting a ton of these long home runs, especially, the longer variety. That could help him get some extra outs in the new format. So the format now is, instead of everyone is just given 30 extra seconds and you kind of go from there, the threshold to gain extra time was 440 feet. Now that's 425 feet. I believe 425, but regardless, it's lower now. Guys like Witt, Alonso, they're going to easily get over that number to get extra outs. So I think that there's some play with, a Bobby Witt at plus 500. And weirdly, Alec Boehm, I don't think he can win this. He I guess could in some world, right? I'm not confident he wins it, I should say, but at that number, 16-1, it is a guy that's previously won a minor league home run derby. So maybe a little bit of experience there to get that kind of a number on him just feels a little bit big.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, Larry, I want to ask you real quick, and then I want to get into Amags. You have some home run derby plays, and of course, later in the show, you have an MLB future, which I really like. Larry and you will have some discussion on it. And I can tell you on the network show, Mackenzie Brooks and the SportsLine model really liked this pick as well. I remember that from last Thursday. But let's start with a couple of home run derby plays that you're actually on tonight.
All right. Well, to start off, I actually was going with a little bit of a matchup here. So it's not somebody to win, but it's going to be Pete Alonso over Gunnar Henderson in the first round. Now, this is not the new format. There is not matchups anymore like a bracket, at least in the first round. So in the first round, it's just going to be the top 4 of the 8 guys that are competing, the top 4 home run totals. So Pete Alonso, last time out, we saw 41 home runs from Julio Rodriguez in his matchup in round 1 that, subsequently eliminated him. But I like Alonso getting back in the derby here. He gets back with the pitcher that he had the last couple times that he won it in Dave Joust. And, previously when you saw him get eliminated in round 1, he had somebody lined up to throw who at the last minute had arm soreness, had to shift very, very late, and the pitching just wasn't there. I think Joust certainly can help him here today. And Henderson, look, him and his pitcher in Britain, who's actually Zach Britton's brother, he's a coach, I believe, of AAA for the O's. him and Henderson really don't have a ton of experience, not only with each other, but in this environment. And I think when you kind of bring that uncertainty into play with only 40 pitches each in the first round, that's going to be really tough to have some kind of margin of error. I think Alonso and Joust are going to be in better form than Henderson and Britton to start off here. So I'll take the -130 on Alonso to hit more home runs in round one. And then secondly, I'll hop right into the second pick. We got Bobby Witt Jr. to hit the longest home run. Now shop around, because I believe it was DraftKings had this around like +160. Same thing on a couple other books, but FanDuel and a few others were actually spitting out +260. And I think a guy that, the last 3 years in a row, he has a home run of at least 440 feet. This year, 460 plus feet. You're going to look at, in my opinion, Witt, a guy that should get into that second round, have much more opportunities. And I think from that, paired with, a nice little storyline of him and his brother-in-law kind of working together here. His brother-in-law's father and Bobby Witt's father played together previously, in Texas. I think there's going to be, some family, some emotion, some good times rolling. And I could certainly see them kind of hitting it off here. So like I said, the +500 seemed a little bit high. I think, I want to play that number. But also to hit the longest home run, I think he should be the favorite here. And I like that +260 out there.
All right, we got a -130. We got a +260. Larry, let's circle back to the odds board. I mean, is there anybody you're leaning on here to actually win the home run derby?
Yeah, it's Bobby Witt, the average home run, 417 feet, which is the longest in the field. And he only has 16. But if he had been playing in this ballpark, he would have 21 homers based on the data of how far his home runs have traveled. He also very high in max exit velocity. So at the value, Bobby Witt, to me, 5-1. But I would encourage everyone to go to SportsLine, because PropStars and Zach Simony have full articles on winners, their winners for the home run derby.
Yeah, absolutely love to hear that. SportsLine has you covered really in every sport and every activity, including the home run derby. I'm going to go with Gunnar Henderson. I mean, I looked at a couple things. I'm not going to pretend I'm a home run derby expert by any means, but Gunnar Henderson from a bat speed department, that looks real good compared to the rest of the field here. Launch angle, kind of an issue. Amags, let me ask you this. And you might not know the answer to this, so maybe I'll just get your thoughts here. Maybe you do know the answer. When you got a guy like Gunnar Henderson who tends to hit more line drives instead of kind of hitting it up and out, when the home run derby comes around, do you think guys like Gunnar Henderson actually change their swing to some degree because they know they're just getting a fat pitch down the middle and they want to make sure they launch it? Or are they still going to be relying on those same angles and just kind of line driving it out?
I think you kind of have to change your swing a little bit, honestly. You do have to kind of, really make sure you're getting under those baseballs. Whereas, a lot of times when you're hitting, you're just trying to look, put a good swing on a ball, hit a line drive somewhere. A lot of times those line drives, become the long fly balls that are then the home runs. Here it's a little bit different, but there's some guys like an Aaron Judge that are, they don't have to do much to change. I'm just a little worried with Henderson. Like there's not a ton of experience. And when you're only dealing with 40 pitches, it's really I could think he could be out in the first round, honestly, just because of the inexperience. And 40 pitches is not a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point about the experience. You'd hope BP kind of gets him in the mode there. I mean, he's been in the home run derby for a couple of weeks now. I'm going to go with Gunnar Henderson, but I see your point on that. We got a Bobby Witt pick. And did you, forgive me, Amags, before we move on to some more picks, did you have an outright pick? I know you had those two picks we just talked about. What was the outright pick again?
So, I actually didn't realize that PropStars wouldn't be on. So originally I said, hey, I'll talk about someone else other than Alonso, because I thought that he would, but sorry, but that was his pick in the article. But
spoiler alert.
I do think Alonso. I think you're getting 3-1 or better. I think Alonso. You get Dave Joust back. I think that's pretty big. And again, when you're hitting those longer home runs, you're getting extra outs. I think in the end, the guys that hit the longer home runs are going to have are going to be better off. So yeah, I like Alonso.
Okay, Alonso at longer than +300. Speaking of beautiful swings, like we'll see in the home run derby tonight, I'm going to go ahead and give out my Open Championship first click. This is actually in my SportsLine article, which I believe it's either already out or will be posted on SportsLine. Again, go to sportsline.com/join. We'll tell you all about that later on in the show in terms of how to get 60% off the annual plan. But I put two names in the initial part of my article. I didn't want to put in too many names because this is the Open Championship. It's wind exposed. It's link style. I do kind of want to wait to get some semblance of a weather report before I load up on more picks. but I'm going with Colin Morikawa either way. I got this on BetMGM at 18-1 yesterday. Unfortunately, it's down to 16-1 at BetMGM, but that's still the best number because most places have him at 14-1. He opened in some markets at 20, got bet down to 18, got bet down to 16, and now he's at 14. So 16-1, still a great number on Colin Morikawa. I love how he's been playing. You look at the last 5-6 tournaments, you look at him since the PGA Championship, really, which was early May, just to give you all an idea of how long he's been doing this. He's been really good. We know historically he's been good, but he had a couple of rough patches here and there, but everything is working, including the short game, around the green play, the putter, that's all working. And what you need out here at Royal Troon, the Open Championship, is to be accurate off the tee for one, and be dialed in with the approach play, particularly the long irons, the wedge play. Colin Morikawa can do all of that. I really think the way he's been playing, he hasn't exactly closed tournaments in an incredible fashion, but he's been there on leaderboards every single Sunday. I think he finally cashes in. I like this number at 16-1. I will say, if you want to bet the without Scotty market, or there's some places that are giving you like a without Scotty, Rory, Xander, Ludwig market, look for those. Because if you look for that market and you want to take Colin Morikawa at 12-1 without those four guys, you can do that. So that's potentially a bettable option here if that's how you want to play it. But I do like him at 16-1. All right, Moshi. Yeah, Moshi says tough break for Oberg, I should say. We thought we had another outright. I hit the Pearson Cootie first round leader. We hit Davis Thompson last week, and I really thought we were going into round 4 with Oberg as like a minus 150 favorite. He just could not get it going. So felt like we kind of missed out on an opportunity there. Speaking of opportunities, BetMGM gives you a lot of opportunities, including this one. New BetMGM customers can sign up today and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you'll receive up to $1,500 instantly. If your bet loses with bonus code EDGE, that's bonus code EDGE, EDGE. Josh Lucero says, I love that pick, Sia. Well, thank you for loving that. Let's hope we cash that pick in. Amags, you've got an MLB future that I love, and we're going to hear about it right after this quick message from our partners. We're back on the Early Edge presented by BetMGM. Gipper's Pick says, I could see Alonso practicing the Derby in the offseason, LOL. Yeah, I can totally see that too. I get that. Bradley Jacob says, I love Sia's head-to-head in the golf market. Full disclosure, I lost the 2 tournament head-to-heads I had this last week, but I've won 4 round matchups in a row. So that's kind of a good news, bad news thing there. I do like to think I specialize in the round matchups, certainly have bounced back in that department. Hopefully Oberg bounces back. David says, second worst round of Oberg's young career thus far. Truly robbed. David Bileski, a noted golf capper in the chat. Thanks for being in here. And I think he had Oberg as well. So we both felt like we missed out on something on Sunday yesterday. All right. Well, Amex, I don't want to miss out on a future. And I was hosting the network show with a bunch of us, including Maestro. You were on that show too. I was talking to Mackenzie Brooks, who runs or helps run the SportsLine model and give out some of those picks. And she liked the Astros to do something this year. You liked the Astros to do something this year. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so I picked them before the season to win the division, and I'm going to go right back to it here. We're getting plus 125 at FanDuel right now for the Astros to win the AL West. And I think maybe there could be a case for both sides of like, hey, they have a ton of injuries, and I don't feel confident in, how they can actually finish the season out. But then you could also take the stance of they're getting Kyle Tucker back. They have a bunch of their main pieces in their lineup that are all healthy and just going right now. And then you have some guys like Verlander coming back in the rotation. And, my thought here is that at plus 125, you're looking at a team that was 16-25, I believe, there in the first half against teams that are over 500. I don't think that continues. They were really bad in some of the stretches there. They've been much better since you turn the page to June and then July. You're looking at plus 125 to only win the division, where you're a game back right now. It's pretty much a toss-up, in my opinion. The Mariners, we've seen, I don't know if Scott is in here, but our buddy on Twitter, Scott there, a big Mariners fan, and he was saying to me yesterday, man, I like the Mariners for the rest of the season. But I wish we didn't lose the 10-game lead and have it whittled down to a 1-game lead. So really, when you're looking at these two teams, like I said, I think it's a toss-up. I just personally trust the Astros front office much more than I do Seattle's to go out and fill some of these holes in the rotation, in the lineup, wherever it may be. The Seattle Mariners have some issues in their lineup that, look, if you don't make the right moves, they still could be sputtering with the offense. So, like I said, I trust the Astros front office more. I'm going to take the plus 125 on them to win the division here.
Yeah, I like the Astros too. Larry, I want to go to you with perhaps a little bit of a counterpoint on Seattle. Let me just get to a couple comments in the chat first. David Talk says, Bobby Mack helped me, exclamation point. You know what's funny, David Talk? I've been on Bobby Mack the last few weeks. For some reason, in my long shot department, I only had one long shot. It was Davis Thompson instead of Bobby Mack. I was toggling between the two. And I think I got way too influenced by the week prior in terms of how Bobby Mack played. So congratulations to you for sticking with Bobby Mack, and congratulations to him. What a great win for him. Larry, we've got a couple comments about you before you get to Seattle. Bradley Jacob says, Larry, I love your NFL picks. Ready for the season, brother. 52 days away. Big Cheesy says, Maestro is the GOAT. By the way, that's the same person for you new people in here. And that was my first, by the way, I believe. Maestro is the GOAT at college basketball. That's when I started following SportsLine. Love to hear that, Big Cheesy. Big Cheesy. We've got a lot of people helping Larry out this year in college basketball too. That's going to be exciting. Larry, quick counterpoint. Is Seattle viable here to win this division?
Seattle is currently constructed, can't score under 4 runs a game, but management has come out and said they are going to add payroll. What if they get Cody Bellinger, Luis Robert, Vlad Guerrero? Then I think it's a different story. And the one thing that gives me a little bit of concern in your pick, and Alex is all over the Astros as well, is that the Mariners have an easy schedule, 4th easiest remaining schedule. The Astros have a pretty middle of the pack schedule. Seattle still gets 7 against the A's, 7 against the Angels. So if they change their roster and add, I think they need at least 2 bats. In that case, I would go with Seattle.
Amags, Will Drummond 12 says, what's with supporting the Astros in a Texas Rangers hat? Your response?
Yeah, I did see that comment. Pretty funny. Hey, I wore the Texas hat because that's where the All-Star game is going to be happening. You got to kind of show some love to this week. But yeah, very funny that I was wearing this hat. And then I think they're like plus 800 or something to win the division. So it's not like they're right there anyways. It's, they're a ways back.
Yeah, fair enough. Will Drummond reminds me of Philip Drummond from Different Strokes, a very underrated TV dad out there. I think if we were to rank the top 5, he would certainly not be inside the top 5. I think that was a very good TV dad. Larry, did you have something before you give out your summer league and your NFL future?
Yeah, I really appreciate those kind comments in the chat, especially because it's been a very rough MLB season for me personally. And it's guys like Amags and Alex and Bruce Marshall and Mike McClure who are really carrying the team, in terms of SportsLine. But I really appreciate that. And I also cannot wait for NFL.
All right, well, let's talk about something that happens tonight, Larry. We've got Summer League tonight. You have a pick, and you also have an NFL future to give out.
Yeah, and I'll be at the Summer League betting on these games live in Vegas later this week, so I can't wait for that. But I tweeted this out last night. Heat minus 5.5 over the Thunder. I knew it was going to move, and it has. It's up to 7.5. I think it's still playable because the word is Jaime Jaquez is going to play again. This guy was all rookie first team in the NBA, playing against a Thunder Summer League team that is totally bereft of talent. The Thunder approached the second part of the Summer League in Vegas differently than other teams. We're talking about bottom of the barrel guys. They do have their 2nd and 3rd draft picks playing, Brooks and Mitchell, but their first draft pick, Topic, he's out with an ACL. Ousmane Dieng, their regular, rotation guy, played 11 minutes last year per game. He's been shut down for the Thunder. They only scored 69 points last time out. They lost 94-69. And the Heat, in addition to Jaime Jaquez absolutely dominating against the Celtics the other day, they have Kel'el Ware from Indiana, their first round pick. He looked really good, 17 points and 3 blocks. They also have a guy, Cole Swider from Villanova, who is trying to hook on the best shooter in the G League last season. 4 out of 5 from 3-point range the other night, a great 3-point shooter. So I'm on the Heat to just dismantle the Thunder, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then one of the NFL futures I'm on is the Arizona Cardinals over 6.5. You have to lay some juice now because this has been moving. The 2 futures I gave out earlier this season, the Lions to win their division, Kyler Murray over passing yards. Kyler Murray is healthy. He's had a healthy offseason. We know he's got Marvin Harrison. We know he's got Trey McBride. He's got James Conner. He's got Trey Benson. So plenty of weapons. This was a top 10 offense down the stretch of the season. People may look at the record and say they only won 4 games. Let's remember, they beat the Cowboys, they beat the Eagles, they beat the Steelers, and they were very competitive, more competitive than a lot of people would have thought. According to Cleve TA, the analytics guru, they had the 5th worst injury luck last season. They had the 4th hardest schedule. Well, this season, the schedule starts off brutal, but then it gets very manageable. Teams like the Patriots and the Panthers. And they did draft 2 very good defenders, a cornerback from Rutgers, and of course the defensive lineman Robinson from Missouri. So they're going to be bad on defense, I agree, but maybe not as horrific. And how about this? Week 18, they could be sitting there at 6-10, and they play the 49ers, who hopefully don't need the game. They win the game and go over to cash the win total. But I think they'll get to 7 even before that.
Yeah, that's a sneaky angle on the 49ers in the last game of the season, because if you're a 49ers fan, you'd hope they're not playing their starters in the final week. And you mentioned it. Their schedule's pretty tough on the front end, but after their week 11 bye, it really gets, you never want to say anything's easy because it's still the Arizona Cardinals at the end of the day, but it lightens up in a pretty significant way after their week 11 bye. So I think that's a good find. Speaking of Kyler Murray, if Marvin Harrison stays healthy the whole season, he's going to be your rookie to lead the league in receiving yards. That's plus 150. That's a prop I've given out on HQ and I believe on this show, or at least maybe the network show in the past. So, and I believe our model likes that pick as well. So again, I like Marvin Harrison to do really well this season, but to lead all receivers in yards at plus 150 or so. All right, did we forget anything? There were so many comments in the chat. Any Olympic futures, says Big Cheesy. We'll have some. Larry, I'm going to go to you real quick. You might know the answer to this. I think we're going to have some Olympics content spilling out, maybe on the early edge, but certainly on SportsLine, correct?
Yeah, in addition to Mike Tierney, a veteran sports writer who's covered many Olympics in person, we actually have Dan O'Brien, the guy who won the decathlon in 1996. And I'm reading his book right now. If you remember the ads, Dan and Dave, you might even be too young for those. Sia, I know Amags is too young to remember. This guy was the greatest athlete in the world, won the decathlon in 96, still very involved in track and field. He's going to be making picks for SportsLine.
I absolutely love that. All right. Olympics right around the corner. So good question. I'm glad you asked it. And for the record, SportsLine, that's my site. I'm saying for the record more than by the way too much. Amags, before I go to you, if you want to join SportsLine, sportsline.com/join. You type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. You don't only get the picks and the Olympic picks and NASCAR and simulations and golf and of course all the major sports, football, hockey, baseball, and the like, obviously basketball, but you also get previews and team-by-team breakdowns. We already have every single NFL team-by-team breakdown on SportsLine. You can be as educated as you need to be on every single facet of every single team. Just go to SportsLine and read those NFL previews along with so many other things. Amags, before we go to the recap screen, you had something.
Just real quick, I saw 2 questions, one in the chat about the hat and Adolis Garcia in the Derby tonight. I have some worries about who his pitcher would be. Again, 40 pitches, you have to be very efficient. Last year, we saw, I believe his name, Tony Beasley. He became a meme. He was so bad. They were saying that he was throwing him sliders and stuff like that. Apparently, he's in the mix to potentially be his pitcher tonight. I want no part of Garcia until I see how that first round goes and if his pitcher is solid. So that one is I just think a little bit tough. And then secondly, about Texas and the Rangers, they're only 5 games out in that division. I guess some people say they like the Rangers to win it. I think if you're going to bet them, try to bet them now. Like, try to find the best number you can now, because they even go on a little run, 1 or 2 games, they make it, 2 or 3 game difference. That number is going to be way lower. So,
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, BetMGM just released for the rest of the week, for the record, a minus 120 favorite over, by the way.
Can I just say, it's so funny that you say that, because Joe Everett also commented on that. So I'm trying to work on my by the way, and it's spilled over to for the record, but I'll say this. I was a 13-year attorney. I was obliged to say for the record in front of judges and juries all the time. So I feel like if I'm going to err one way, it should be on the for the record side. So I disallow anybody to be super annoyed with me on that one relative to the by the way thing, because I definitely said that way too much. So I'm going to work on both. Everybody, thanks for pointing it out. Listen, I want to get better too. I don't want to say for the record every other sentence, but I used to say that all the time. So there you have it. Big Cheesy with a big LOL. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, practiced law, was a trial attorney for 13 years. That's a story for another day. I wouldn't say I very much enjoyed it, but I very much enjoy what I'm doing right here, right now. Let's take a look at the recap screen. Let's hope we get another winning day off the heels of Friday. Open Championship winner, I'm going with Colin Morikawa. I'm just giving you my first click here at plus 1,600. The early wedge is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Me, EC, Patrick McDonald will give you all, if not most, if not all of our picks. Again, we want to take a look at weather, but we'll have a better idea of weather and potential weather waves at 7 o'clock tomorrow night on the early wedge. Amags, Astros to win the AL West at plus 125. Pete Alonso over Gunnar Henderson at minus 130. That's a round one matchup. Not a true matchup, but a round one matchup you can bet at your sportsbook. Bobby Witt Jr. to hit the longest home run at plus 260. The Maestro tonight, Summer League Heat minus 7.5. And the Arizona Cardinals over 6.5 wins at minus 148. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a show. You thought it was going to be, hey, is the early edge even going to be around today? What's there to talk about? Well, we're around every single day. We're always going to be here for you. And we had a lot to talk about. In fact, we took way too long today, but you all stuck with us. So I really, really appreciate it. Let's have a great Monday. Let's enjoy the home run derby, some of this summer league stuff. Let's dive into SportsLine and some of these NFL team by team previews. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, folks. On behalf of Larry Hartstein, a.k.a. the Maestro, Amags, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and on behalf of all of you hanging out with us in the chat, this is the Early Edge. I'm the Counselor of Cash. We rest our case.